Hi, everyone. Welcome to Conscious Living podcast series inside Center for Conscious Kids. And we're here live in San Diego at the Specially Produced Network podcasting booth. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Today we are talking about tutoring versus neuroscience. And with us here in the middle, I have Lynda Detweiler Newcomb. She's the founder of Encinitas Learning Center. And this is where we're talking about our opportunities to share about neuroscience and tutoring with our children. Lynda Detweiler Newcomb has a master's in communication disorders. She has been practicing speech pathology for more than 30 years. She graduated from the California State College at Northridge and then earned a certificate in clinical competence from American Speech and Hearing Association. She also has an ACE award for continuing education from the same organization that signifies she is a top-rated therapist. Among many of the certifications and awards that she was honored to retrieve is the National Service Award from Scientific Learning as the top provider in 2008. Lynda is the founder and director of the Encinitas Learning Center since 1997. She has treated well over 33,000 clients and specializes in auditory processing disorders for both children and adults. The Encinitas Learning Center is beginning its 23rd year. Wow. Of non-public agency certified by the state of California, as a non-public agency certified by the state of California. Her website is www.encinitaslearningcenter.com. Welcome, Lynda.
Thank you.
We are so excited to have you here.
It's good to be here.
And today we have here to your left and everybody else's right is Kristen. And Miss Kristen is a teacher at Encinitas Learning Center who works with youth and adults in an academic and social inside academic and in teaching social skills. Kristen works to empower others, find their unique gift, and share it with the world. Wow, welcome, Kristen. We're so glad you're here. And I want to introduce Lauren Lee. She's also a helper this summer as a student intern. And welcome, Lauren. We're so glad you're here with us.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get started to the meat of this. What does neuroscience mean, Lynda?
Neuroscience is such a great area. We've had the opportunity to train and learn from the scientists that have been discovering so many new things about the brain and how it works, and the marriage of how we can begin to help students learn faster. And what we say at Encinitas Learning Center is that we help you think faster so that you can learn more. And
everybody wants that.
I know it sounds very unique and different, but obviously if you have some disconnect in the brain, it's much better to pinpoint that and correct that and then do tutoring. And that's the difference.
Absolutely.
So if you have that really solid base that you've established from treating whatever the disconnects and the dots are not connected, you connect those dots, it's like a light bulb effect. It just exponentially, everything starts to make sense. And the children are, and adults too, are in the conversation and remembering when they did this before or how they heard about this before and connecting what they've already learned with the new information. And that learning event is just phenomenally fun to see.
Right, right. It can be so much more fun when we move through areas of maybe stuckness or difficulty where we recognize, I don't know, we could read slow, right? And then when we read slow, we're not getting the information we really want to get from that reading material. So what you're saying then is you provide levels of neuroscience that help someone, for example, read a little faster or smoother or with ease without so much strain and stress.
No, it's so amazing because we can say that after we've done a course of therapy or a program, the reading uh, grade level goes up by a year or year and a half in about 3 months. Well, it's not because we were teaching reading. It's because we just help the brain to process everything so much more efficiently that now you can read faster and therefore comprehend what you're reading. Because if you read so slowly that you can't remember what you started off with at the top of the page,
Boy, I've had that.
it's really tough to understand what did I just read, and then you have to go back and do it all over again. And believe me, reading is not fun when you have to do it
That's
that way.
very laborious. And it also takes away then from the kids' playtime and other time that they'd like to when they're doing homework and other follow through activities with their learning.
And what's so interesting is once we have that really boost, as it was, the person themselves just comes in with a much more confident air. They walk differently. They attack new tasks with ease and confidence. And that's when it's so wonderful we have that window then to assess, okay, what are the learning gaps that you didn't get along the way when you weren't processing so well? And that's where Kristen comes in, and she's such a phenomenal teacher, and she inspires the kids to learn and to do things that they've never aspired to do before. She's really highly trained in Orton Gillingham, which is a really good reading program. But but it's wonderful then to have a teacher that can really spark that interest and that love of learning, which is our whole purpose, is to become, uh, we don't want to be tutors and handholders forever. We want these students to be independent learners.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. And Kristen, would you share with us a little bit? You mentioned in your information about what you do at the Encinitas Learning Centers is develop social skills. What type of social skills do you work with and how do you support them with that?
I think once the students come through those doors, they're our students, they're our children. And so it's so much more than just assessing them and giving them the cognitive training and then the tutoring. It really is that whole child approach.
Yes.
So, and that involves the emotional and the social and the confidence and the maturity and the self advocacy and and we all do that,
Right.
right? We all do that. And it's amazing working with Lynda because yes, I'm more of like the academic and I can she's the first step. And there's so many times where parents and teachers and advocates kind of get it a little backwards where they they have a child that's struggling and they go straight to the tutor. And it's amazing working with Lynda because you can come to me, but you have to be ready to come to me. So you need to go to Lynda first, right?
Yeah.
And really be able to process the information that I'm giving you. Or I'm beating a dead horse. I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do that because then I'm not fully doing my job and kids don't want to keep going through that year after year after year.
Right.
So we get down to the root of the problem and then we train
Yeah.
cognitively.
Yeah.
We train skills, we train socially. We're on a team. We train together
Right.
and then they go play the game and they don't need us anymore. And
That's
then you know what? The amazing thing is they go train others. Like Lauren. Now she's training others and she's the coach. And so I think that's the social piece. It's that whole
that whole circle of
yeah, it's the
yes.
whole being.
Awesome. And then Lauren, how did you get involved in and what are you doing at Encinitas Learning Center this year?
Well, when I was younger, I went to Encinitas Learning Center to help with my auditory processing and different type of difficulties that I had during school. And so then now, after so many years, and then at the end of high school, I was helping intern with Lynda and other children and helping them with their programs and kind of guiding them and letting them know that like the work that they're actually doing actually does help and in the long term like gives them confidence to move further in their careers, which I think is really supportive because when you're that young and you're going through things and you don't really understand like maybe the bigger picture at first, like it's really helpful to see someone else who's gone through it. Because like if you don't really know it's at the end of the tunnel, like sometimes you can kind of get distraught over how much work you're putting in, and maybe like you're kind of maybe not as hopeful as you would like to be about where you're going to end up. And so I think it's really good for me to like help support them and tell them like it is possible. Like you just have to concentrate and focus and like really believe that the work that you're doing and like understanding and like having trust in everyone at the center
Makes
that's
a
there.
difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's so amazing. Do you let the children know that you had been there when you were little too?
Yes, actually, like multiple times. Like I work most of the summers at Encinitas Learning Center, and so I help. And I see the kids again, and either they kind of forgot that I was there because they're out there every day. So if you're not there every day with them, like they might forget you, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember you." And so that's like really helpful in that sense. And
So in your shoes and in your presence there, you really support them in seeing that they can do these things, they can get through these programs, and they can grow and develop in the ways that they'd like to.
yeah. And I really do believe that like the way that the learning center runs is really like efficient and very proficient in not only supporting the student, but like supporting the student and their family holistically throughout the whole process of their academic career,
Yeah.
which is really helpful. And Lynda is going to talk more about more of that, but like more of the process that they go into, really understanding like the child from all aspects, from social to emotional to academic and cognitively, and then goes into the process of helping support that, and so that the child can be successful like to years to come, even after the parents are there, supporting the child, like even after that, like into their career or the higher education.
Yeah, it's very good foundational work. And going back to that, Lynda, when Kristen had said it starts with you, can you share with everyone and parents and children what that means to start with you when they come in through the door at Encinitas Learning Center?
Yes, I'm happy to. We screen everybody that comes in the door. Usually people will call and say, "Oh, we just need a little bit of tutoring." And that's why we have opened up a new program called Students to Scholars that Kristen is heading up. But mainly we just want you to come in and get checked.
Okay. And so to really see, because what you talked about was that pinpointing of those I mean, I think in the old days we used to say deficits, but now we call them challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those neuro challenges, and where might they be? Because as we address them, remediate them, help them perform at a higher level, then the children's learning and the opportunity for tutoring then opens, and that door just opens and flies and flows.
And it's all so time efficient,
Yes.
rather than years and years and years of hand holding and not really feeling as though you're confident enough to try it by yourself. You always
Yeah.
feel you need that tutor to interpret what you need to do. But the thing is, the very first thing, just to kind of take you through a scenario, we get the telephone call, and I usually spend a lot of time talking with parents at that point, and that's completely complimentary, just to find out more about the background and what the needs and because parents know there's something going on. If nobody else will identify it, they know what, and so I always listen very carefully to what their feelings are and how they've observed this child and know them over the years. And at that point, I do ask that they come in and I get a hands-on chance to see how they function on tasks that are in the learning event. And with that, then we can sit down. It's just as easy as 1, 2, 3. The second thing we do is we sit down and we analyze what those results are. Plus, I go over any testing that was done previously, because maybe I'll look at it with a little bit different point of view. Because what I'm doing is taking what the neuroscientists have developed in research and translating that now to function.
Yes.
And to how we teach children and how they're going to learn better. And then number 3 is to design a program from the many tools over the years that we've been able to train on. and pick and choose from all those different tools what the very best way for that particular child is. And that's the hope. The hope is we're not going to have to live with this forever. We can change how the brain functions.
We sure can.
It's amazing. And the fact that we don't just, stay with it and accommodate it, that's hand-holding again.
Yeah.
So just generally, this is what we do. And then when the kids do come in, after about the first 2 or 3 sessions, they're really excited to come in because in our programs, it's built in an 80% success rate. So children that have been asked to do tasks in the past that they always failed at are coming with that expectation again. And lo and behold, they come to a place where they can actually do what they're being asked to do and do it successfully and confidently. And yes, 20% of the time, we're urging them to go a little bit faster and do a little bit better. But it's always with that constant knowledge that they're going to be successful if they come in and work with us.
And this neuroscience and what we would call maybe remedial programs, so those are programs that actually adjust the brain, support the brain, pinpoint those areas where the brain is having difficulty, and really transforming the brain into functioning at a higher level, a smoother level, an easier level. What would some of those programs be called so that people can be introduced to these ideas? And what do those mean? How do they get administered to the children?
Well, it depends on whether or not what we find during that initial screening. If, for example, there's a working memory problem, a person just can't remember long enough all the different parts of a word, say k, a, t, and blend it together to make it say cat. If that working memory is getting in the way, then we would take a program that specifically works on that, which would be a name of a program that we might use is CogMed, and you can Google that and look at it. But that might not be all that's going on. There may be also some auditory figure ground problems, and so then we would also pick another program that might attach to that. And we really have a lot of different things that work on how to connect the dots, the timing in the brain for executive function, attention and focus for the kids that are diagnosed by other people as ADD. It might not be ADD. It may be something cumulative that once we take a few of the balls out of the air that they're juggling, it's not difficult to sit and attend anymore. In fact, it's fun.
Right. Wow, that is fantastic. And most of these programs then, if not all of them, can be done in your center? And,
yes.
Okay. And is that what Lauren supports with some of the kids?
Yes, and Lauren is amazing at this. She's so good at figuring out how to decipher what the children are having difficulty with. And then she'll come to me and say, I think they need a strategy, a different strategy. And so we'll pull out a different strategy and take them off and the program for a while and just work hands-on with them and then put them back and watch them soar and go forward again.
Well, that's really great. So you function and support them and noticing what some of their difficulties are, advocate for them, and then explain to them that it's pretty typical. It's kind of hard sometimes.
Yeah.
I practice some of those remedial programs. I can say it is the interactive metronome.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Sequencing one. Wow. You have to clap your hands and you have to stay in sequence. And I'm like, I can't dance. I can't do that.
You can.
But I can. See, so
Well,
we can help. We can help.
That's right. Some grown-ups can get the help too.
well, when I'm supporting the children, and I'm observing, and Kristen does it too. I watch her do it when there's students that I don't know, and then we both kind of collaborate together to see what the children are kind of missing or maybe the harder parts that they're having. And each program is very specialized, like Lynda says, to certain things that cognitively needs help. And so we refer to these all these trainings really, and these programs more cognitive training for these children to help them efficiently process information visually, auditorily, in many different ways. And so each program is very specialized, and I think comes across sometimes that, you know, you can just give one kid one program and then they get all fixed. But really, that's not the case. Like, the first step is being pre-assessed and then going into what is going to work best for the student. And then as we're observing the student doing these programs that we have created for them at the Learning Center, then we can assess what they already have strengths in and what is, and like filling in the gaps. Like,
Yeah.
and then we see the gaps and we're like, oh, they need more strategy, or they need more help, or maybe there's something even more. And like, it's a whole process, and it's a team collaboration and guidance for the student, which is completely personalized and unique for each child, which I think is outstanding, because at a lot of other places, like, you just get, you know, tutoring, which is memorize, know this answer, okay, move on. Like, it's not.
It doesn't address that really finer point of their neurological challenges.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And
Fantastic.
you know, it's interesting because you were saying I'm practicing some of these things too, because in older people, you know, this doesn't just go away. You don't just outgrow it. So in order to change how the brain
These
is,
neurological challenges. You mean?
yeah, the
Yes.
brain has to function
I
differently.
even think it grows maybe a little worse as we get older.
Well, and in older people, typically it starts with the brain fog,
Yeah.
forgetfulness, clouded thinking, sometimes trying to can't recall certain words that you want to find.
Right.
And these all things that turn into severe fatigue because you're working harder than everybody else to just function. And so we can take those symptoms and work with them and help make the brain maintain its alertness and stay sharp.
Right.
And that's called that's our Brain Pro Masters program, which is for older people. So I mean,
Brain
we
Pro
just
Masters program.
yeah,
I love it.
we just run the gamut here. We can help with you know, it's a cumulative effect. So we talk about sleep patterns and diet and so forth and exercise, but it really does start with how your brain is functioning. So I think that's going to be.
That is so amazing. And then also you talked about in your bio as well, talking about people with traumatic brain injury and other avenues, no matter what their age is, that you can help remediate some of those areas as well. It's so beautiful. So as they get that pre-assessment, when they come in and they get assessed, and then you all strategize and make a care plan for them on how to promote and address their neurological challenges. Then they go through the neuro and the cognitive training or remediation, and then they move into the elements of tutoring then to then integrate this neurological training. Right, and so that's where you come in, Kristen. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, and so
True.
then this embarks them on, if this is correct, to that higher level of tutoring. So their tutoring is very specific. Their tutoring reinforces all the learning that they just got to do, and then also it reinforces a lot of things that come easy to them, so that builds confidence as well.
It takes advantage of their new skills. So it's continued training to the point where they can do it on their own, because we don't handhold. I think the big difference with the tutoring versus what we do, the training, is it really is like a central hub for students, for teachers, for the families. So we're all working together. We don't just prescribe, but
Right.
we talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? And we're curious about it, and we work on it together, all of us, and the students do too. And so after they have those skills and they work on them and they train them with their families and all of the support, then they can go off on their own. So it's not, I would say it's more of a training than just, I'm not going to teach you what to learn, I'm going to teach you how to learn, so that when you leave us, and you'll come back, right? Because this is fun. It is. And we continue to learn.
It really
I mean,
is.
there's not a single moment that goes by that we're not learning something new or questioning or being curious. And it's amazing. And that's what we want to instill in our students, in our families, in our friends, and anyone that we talk to. Don't ask us a question about what we do, because you're not going to get us to stop talking. But that's good, right? It's the
Right.
love of learning, and
We create that lifelong learning.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, forever.
I think
Yeah.
what's interesting is that once you've done this and once you've been there and gone through this process, you begin to recognize in other people their need to do the same.
Right.
And so a lot of times that's what happens, that, the other parents or even students will say, I know somebody in my class that could really, really benefit from this. And then that's the word of mouth that goes out to others. And of course, other professionals are constantly referring to us. So we're busy, but we also want to bring this message out to everybody that, this is an option. You do not have to have accommodations. You can change things. The hope is there.
Yes.
And again, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
If you get the assessment, it's a good thing if we find out there's no problem. But
Right.
if there is a problem, it's a good thing to know that we can fix it.
Well, I mean, and I think there are lots of people too, even maybe when they don't even find a problem, they still want brain enhancement,
Exactly.
right? To maybe they have a lot on their plate as an adult or as a young adult, right? In a UC system school, right? That's very high output, and that they want to read a little faster, or they want to sequence and dance maybe a little better.
Yes.
In other areas of their lives, right? That they can bring in their brain and nervous system into a higher level of function that really supports their life purpose, their goals, their careers, and other activities in their lives that they felt they didn't do it as well, and they'd like to do it even better.
Well, the biggest thing, I think, for me is to see the anxiety level go down for students that have had a lot of difficulty even approaching school or being in that situation, feeling so unsure of themselves, having that subside and being a totally different experience. Because, that is their job. Academics, for all those many years, they spend hours and hours every day working at. And if you're constantly off balance and off center in that situation, it's a difficult thing to go back the next day. So when we see that change and we see that whole approach be one of joy and love of learning, then that's why we're here.
You've
That's why we get
accomplished.
up in the morning.
That's right.
I have to say, when students struggle and families struggle and they see this, and we get scared, right? There's the fear of the unknown, and it can be fixed. We can change things. It's a growth mindset. It's not fixed,
Right.
It's not
You don't have to live
the
with
same as in, right, you don't have to. But it can be frustrating, it can be scary, it can be something that we're just going to keep putting off. I'm not going to go to the doctor. No. The first thing, if you're watching this, if you're listening, you're interested for a reason,
it.
right? If you're calling for a reason. Do it. Come into Encinitas Learning Center. Talk to us.
They can help you find the answers.
Call us.
Right?
Yes.
Find out where those very specific points of difficulty are. It doesn't have to be the whole brain, right?
No, it probably isn't.
It probably isn't.
Probably just this one little thing that's kind of hidden and underneath the surface, but we keep looking until we find out exactly what that is and get at it however we can. And if they're not making progress, it's not the child's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's us that has to go back to the drawing board and find a way to get at it better.
Right.
And that's our whole premise.
Your whole premise. And that's called empowering independent scholars.
Exactly.
Share with us a little bit about scholars. What does that mean to you?
That's Kristen's area. She's
scholar.
She's making scholars out of our students.
I think that's so amazing. That's a great way to address a student, right? Is they're a scholar?
They are, yes.
Yes.
It's really taking over themselves, knowing themselves and learning for themselves. And, a student we're all students.
We are all students.
We're all scholars. And we're all teachers, right?
Yes.
We just have to find the one unique, wonderful thing about each person.
Right.
And revel in that.
Yeah.
and they need to.
Yes.
A scholar is someone you can go out. They're done, right?
Right.
They're not learning to learn from us. They're learning because that's what they do now.
Yes.
I'm a scholar. I just learn, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna.
They're developing or embodying that idea that they're independent learners, that they're taking accountability and responsibility for their learning,
Yes.
and that they can do it. And when they have difficulty doing it, they can find resources just like you all.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
They want to discover the world.
That's
on their
beautiful.
own.
Thank you all for coming today and sharing with us the amazing
you.
opportunities students of all ages, right,
Yes.
can have to create the world they'd like to create.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.